What is up, and welcome back to another episode of the Wizards podcast. I'm your host, Greg Finberg, and today's episode, we're going to be getting into the Wizards' first two preseason games. After a months-long absence, the first time we've seen the Wizards play basketball since April, they're back. They returned on October 12th. I'm recording this on midnight around the 14th, but they returned on the 12th after a long hiatus and played the Raptors at Capital One Arena. Went the next night to New York and played the Knicks in a game that they won. A lot to break down and kind of unpack. And I know it's preseason. I think this is the time where you're not supposed to read too much into anything, but you do anyway because it's fun. And what else are you going to do at this point in the season? So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to read a little bit too much, maybe, into some of the themes that I saw, some of the players that played well, that maybe didn't play well, and kind of give you my analysis on what I saw from watching the last two games of Wizards basketball. I want to start versus Toronto, 113 to 112 loss. I mean, the Wizards were down, I think, 16 at one point in the second half, roared back with the not even second unit, the third unit realistically, retook the lead on a pair of Will Riley free throws with like zero point 0.8 left. And we're going to get into Will Riley because he was phenomenal against the Knicks. But then Olivier Sarr, who's Alex's brother, Toronto drew up a really good play and got him open at the rim. He caught it, put it in for a layup at the buzzer. Raptors won. Obviously, the result doesn't matter. I just wanted to highlight that because it's a pretty fun ending. Really good play by Darko for the Raptors. But that being said, I kind of want to touch on a few things. The one thing that I saw again is the starting lineup and the rotation. So I'll hit on that quickly. I mentioned that I don't want to read too much into things, but the starting lineup, and obviously this is factoring in Bilal Coulibaly, who has been out all training camp and preseason and will miss the first week or two of the regular season. The starting lineup that I had said for the last couple of weeks, minus Bilal, was the starting lineup that we saw to open preseason against Toronto with all the players, except I think AJ is still out with an injury, and same with Bilal. Everyone else was healthy, and this was the starting five they threw out there. Keefe went with Bob Carrington, CJ McCollum, Keyshawn George, Chris Middleton, and Alex Sarr. And it's the starting five that I had said, before this, it was either Bilal or George at the three. With Bilal out, it's George at the three, but I have been stressing, Middleton will start, McCollum will start. Middleton's the best four on this team. McCollum's the best two on this team right now. Bub is the point guard of the future. They've invested a lot in him. You traded Jordan Poole to open up those minutes. It's pretty clear he's going to start. Did it all summer league. Is doing it again in the preseason. And then obviously you got Sarr down low. I wasn't sure if he'd be back because he missed a little bit of training camp with that calf injury. He was back. He looked healthy. He looked phenomenal, and just a half a play sat him for the second half. But those were the starters for the game against Toronto. It's the starting five that I think you'll see on opening night in Milwaukee in roughly 8 days by the time I'm recording this. So that kind of wasn't surprising to me. And getting into the rotation, I had also mentioned throughout the offseason, Brian Keith's been here for about a year and a half. He really likes 8 to 9 man rotations. He's not a guy that's going to run 10, 11 deep. I actually like that. I'm also not a proponent of playing that many guys. I think it messes up the rhythm and the chemistry and the flow of your team in the game. I like playing 8, 9 guys. It seems like, at least to begin the season, the 4 off the bench are going to be Trey, Cam, Corey, and Bagley. Those were the first 4 off the bench. And in the first half, they were realistically the only ones that played. Some other guys got late minutes, but that kind of seems like it's the rotation that Keefe is going to go with, at least to begin the season. And then you got to factor in, right? Bilal Coulibaly will be back pretty soon. Where does he fit in? Because he's clearly going to be a part of this rotation in some capacity, right? Whether he's starting or he's their 6th man off the bench. Who does that bump down? Does Keefe go to a 10-man rotation, which realistically I don't think is optimal, and I honestly don't think he prefers to do either, based on what I've seen from him and his coaching philosophy. So who comes out of there? Like he's obviously a wing that leaves Kispert. Obviously Whitmore. I doubt they'll take Trey Johnson out of the rotation with how he's looked so far. Bagley's got to be a backup big. It gets tough, which is a good problem for Keefe to have, right? I think this is the best roster pretty clearly that he's coached in his short stint in Washington. But it also leaves guys like Justin Champagny, who I think is a really solid player. It kind of leaves him out of it. Will Riley, who's played well in preseason, I don't know if he realistically has a spot there. Dylan Jones even flashed against New York. He's not going to be in it. Branham too. You have a lot of talented guys, and a lot of guys that just won't play because the minutes simply aren't there. There's not enough. And so I think if I had to guess, obviously reading a little bit too much into the preseason, opening night starting five: Bub, CJ, Keyshawn, Chris Middleton, Alex Sarr, uh, Trey Johnson, Cam Whitmore, Corey Kispert, Marvin Bagley, a third off the bench. And Tristan Vukcevic was the first center to replace Sarr off the bench against Toronto. But they also then the next night started Bagley and played him heavy minutes at center. So I don't know if that was just because they knew Sarr was going to sit the second half and they can kind of incorporate Bagley there and then start Bagley the next night, get him a little bit more on than Vukcevic. I don't know what that whole thing is, and I even tweeted it out. It was interesting that Tristan was the first big off the bench. I don't think that's going to stay. I think Bagley's a better option than Tristan. Tristan's also on a two-way deal, so you have a cap of how many games he can play with the NBA team. So certainly hurdles to go there for Tristan, but I mean, talk about centers, right? It's funny because all offseason, Wizards fans' biggest gripe with this roster was that the center depth behind Sarr was lacking. And for a while it was. I mean, you realistically didn't have much. Tristan was technically a restricted free agent. Bagley was a free agent. You waived Rashawn Holmes. So there was clearly a divide between the fan base and kind of the vision that Dawkins had. But man, the centers have been the best position group for this team through two preseason games. Starting with the main man in the middle, Alex Sarr. I mean, I can't speak higher and highly enough of his first half in the preseason against Toronto. Sad the second half. Obviously, still nursing that calf injury. They want to be cautious, but he made his mark in the first half. Didn't even need to play the second half. 12 points, 8 boards, 4 or 5 from the field, just 1 of 1 from 3, plus 17. Honestly, the rebounding was great. I loved his aggression on the glass. That was one of the biggest things I said he needed to work on in the offseason. 4 or 5, very efficient. My favorite thing about it is I loved his shot diet. He was getting in the paint. He was being physical down low, fighting for rebounds, getting second chance points for the team, for himself. He just really played like a true center. He didn't play like a power forward, cosplaying as a center. He played like a true center, a true 7-footer. And that's what you need from your young 20-year-old center. You need him to not be naive, to not be timid, to not be shy or scared of contact down low. I didn't see any of that in that first half, and that's why I think he excelled. And the other good thing that I saw is the 1-3. He made it. It looked like a smooth jumper. He had confidence when taking it. But the fact that he took 5 shots and only one of them was a 3, I think if you flash back to last preseason, a good chunk of the shots he took were probably outside jumpers or long mid-range shots. Like he just settled so much. And now I think he's come into his body a little bit more, gotten stronger, more physical. And I think he understands a little bit more of how to work down low. That's going to be big and be a key for him going forward. It's a small sample size. It's just about 10, 12 minutes in the first half. But in those minutes, I thought he looked tremendous and really gives Wizards fans something to be excited about moving forward. He didn't play in the next game against New York. It was a back-to-back. I thought that would be the case. You obviously want to be cautious with that calf injury. The Wizards don't play again until Thursday in their finale. Then they have a big gap until they play the next Wednesday to start the regular season. So I'm not sure if Sarr will be back in Detroit on Thursday. Maybe they're a little cautious still. But in the small sample size, he kind of showed Wizards fans everything that they needed to see or they wanted to see. And that's obviously a good start to the season. Getting into the other bigs, I mean, Tristan Vukcevic, I'll start with him because he was the first big off the bench. The offense is there, and we've known that it's been there for Tristan since he came to Washington. Through 2 games in the preseason, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 8 of 11 from the field. Very efficient right there. 3 of 5 from 3. Didn't even take any threes in the first game, just 2 shots and made them both. The next night against the Knicks, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Really looks confident shooting the ball from the outside. Really draws the opposing center out of the paint, which opens up driving lanes for his wings and guards and really, evolves the offense to a modern style with a stretch 4/5. Certainly the defense, and I keep saying this, it always keeps coming back to the defense with Tristan. it needs to improve. And I don't think I've seen anything on defense in the preseason to say, man, he's a liability, but he's obviously not flashed the way a guy like Sarr would on defense or Keyshawn George would on defense. So again, that's not too much of a concern. Like he's not a guy that holds his hat on that end. He needs to get better there. He needs to, I think, get stronger and more physical and be able to absorb contact more as your interior defender, your paint protector. But offensively, I have no gripes. I think Tristan's been great. He's out there to score and evolve the offense, and I think he's done that, stretching the floor so far, efficient at that as well. Um, so really liked what I've seen from him. And then you talk about a guy in Marvin Bagley. I looked his age up the other day because I was just curious. He's 26. Um, again, I think if you're listening to this, you're probably like, I feel like he's been in the league for 10, 15 years. But he came in the league as a 19-year-old. Second pick by Sacramento, did not pan out there, and most draft picks don't really pan out there. The situation wasn't ideal coaching wise, front office wise. Bounced around the league a little bit. Went to Washington, then to Detroit. Obviously back in Washington, stints other places. Excuse me, but it seems like it's possible that Marvin found a home here in DC. He was good before they traded him, and he's been great in the preseason. He came in more so in the second half against New York, and I thought played really well, rebounded really well. I've enjoyed how active he is, not on the defensive glass, but more so on the offensive glass. It seems like there's not a rebound on the offensive glass he doesn't think he can get or at least fight for, which I really do like that aggression. Against the Knicks alone, he kept 4 or 5 possessions alive, got second chance points for the team, but himself too. He puts it back up, he gets fouled, and that really, creating those extra possessions can go a long way in a 48-minute game. So I really like what I've seen from Bagley. Against New York was clearly the better of the two performances. Started at center, finished with 18 points, 11 rebounds on 7 of 8 from the field. He had, I think, 9 points, 8 boards through the first quarter. Just a really good, efficient night for Bagley on both ends too. I had some, I saw some good things on defense with his rim protection, his activity, obviously clearing the glass. So the bigs, which is funny because that was the biggest question mark in the offseason, is kind of the group I've been most impressed with in the preseason. I really don't have any gripes with either of them. And it seems like the Wizards, at least for the time being, should have a pretty competent center rotation. I think you can clearly improve that in later years when Sarr is obviously getting better and you have better guys there. And maybe Tristan develops into that backup big, but certainly very, very happy with what I saw from the bigs through 2 preseason games. Moving forward to a guard in Bub Carrington. I'm really happy that I didn't record this episode after the first preseason game and waited till now because, again, there's a lot of Wizards fans that have hot takes. That's fine. That's sports. That's what's going to happen. But a lot of people, even throughout the end of summer league and obviously after the first preseason game, had given up on Bub as a point guard. I'll remind you that this kid's 20 years old, or recently 20 years old, I think in July. He's only been playing as a true point guard the tail end of last season and then throughout the summer and until now. He made a lot of his money at Pitt and elsewhere as a 2 guard, as a scorer. And now he's being asked at an NBA level, the highest level of basketball, to become a true point guard. And that takes time. And I think Wizards fans need to understand that and get behind that fact that it's not going to come overnight. You saw Jordan Poole, right? I mean, he was awful his first year as the true point guard in DC. He had been asked to be a scorer for years in Golden State. That's how he made his money. And it took him a while, but you saw last season, you saw the year before, he really showed that progression. Brian Keefe clearly knew what he was doing when he switched him over there full time. And I want to stress that with Bub too. Like it's going to take time for Bub to develop into a true point guard, to morph into that role, to develop that court vision, that chemistry with his teammates, that IQ in the pick and roll. And so I think, obviously against Toronto, really bad, right? There's no going around it. No matter how patient you are, that is a flat out awful performance. He went 0 of 8 from the field. He was a minus 34. He had 4 turnovers, and those turnovers were bad. Like it was forced passes, got caught in the air with nowhere to go, didn't navigate the pick and roll the way I think he should have. And so the defense made him pay. And he, the team was awful when he was on the floor. His shot wasn't falling. Just everything went poorly. But I loved how he responded against the Knicks the following night. Only played 14 minutes. Realistically, just played the first half. Finished with 8 points on 3 of 3 from the field, including 2 of 2 from three. And the three looked good. Jumper looked really good. Mid-range two that looks smooth. His mid-range always been smooth, but 8 points on a perfect 3 of 3 from the field. 4 assists, was a plus 16. So again, the team much better tonight against New York than it was on Sunday against Toronto. And albeit like the Wizards beat the Knicks by 17, it was realistically their second and third units. Like they started their second unit. The third unit was like the bench guys. They played nobody, no Cat, no Hart, really no starters or even bench guys. Yabusele played barely. Same with Clarkson in the first quarter. But after that, obviously, it was a bunch of their guys that probably won't make the team or will be in the G League. So take that for what you will. The Wizards' offense looked unstoppable, albeit against second and third unit guys. But really good bounce back for Bub. Hopefully, he can kind of build confidence on that. So I'm not overly concerned with him. Obviously, a really bad first game. Liked how he bounced back. But I will stress caution, right? I do think that Wizards fans need to be pretty patient with their young point guard. Moving on to their young shooting guard, I really liked what I've seen from Trey Johnson. The start against Toronto, wasn't great, but the second half, he looked like a different player. When I think 3 for 8 in that game, was way more aggressive in the second half against Toronto. That carried over into the game against New York. He finished. He started, played just 14 minutes, realistically most in the first half, but 10 points on 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from three, was a plus 19, 3 assists. I just really liked what I saw from Trey in terms of his aggressiveness. The first play of the game against the Knicks, he got the ball, went right up, didn't make it. Doesn't matter. Next possession, he takes up, a nice pin down screen. Bub feeds him top of the key. Pure. I really hope I can't show it to you here on this thing. I'm not technologically sound to do so. But if you just watch the highlights and you watch that first jumper from Trey, nothing but net. Such a smooth jumper. Rotation looked pure. And that's kind of what you get from him. He was the best shooter in the draft, one of the best scorers in the draft, led off freshman in the NCAA in scoring last year at Texas. He can score the ball, but I'm also interested to see how he does it. He had a couple of nice takes to the rim. He had a floater against Toronto, and most of his damage was from three against New York. He had one in particular in transition. If you want to scroll my timeline on Twitter, I tweeted out a video of it. He gets the ball off a rebound, just dribbles up the floor and takes a transition three. Transition three is one of the most tough shots in the league. Having to stop your momentum and also be able to put enough, air under the ball, have enough touch and feel to be able to stop on a dime and get everything right to make that transition bucket. He made it look so effortless. He made it look smooth. Had people telling me that it reminded them of one Steph Curry. The Ray Allen comparisons have been flying around. That was a really hot take or I say popular take in the pre-draft process, one that I also had as well. So I really like what I've seen from Trey confidence-wise. His ability to put the ball on the deck as well is something that I've liked. The defense, again, is the defense. I'm not necessarily looking at Trey to see if he can become a world-class defender. I didn't really watch and see like, oh, he's awful. You know what I mean? I didn't see that from him. So not too concerned, but really liked the potential, the promise that I saw from him, obviously as a shooter, but a scorer as well. He's going to shoot the ball. It doesn't matter that he's, a rookie at 19 years old. He's going to get shots up. He's going to be confident. And that's what you want from your rookie. You don't want them to play shy. You want them to play like they belong here. And I think maybe early on, you'll see a little bit of struggles from Trey, maybe, especially efficiency wise. But I think the looks will be there. And eventually throughout the season, you got to hope that the looks start to fall. He gets more comfortable. You start to see that more with rookies. He's also going to play a lot. The Wizards Bub led all rookies in minutes last year. Keyshawn and Alex were right up there if they didn't get injured. So he's going to play. He's going to have opportunities. He'll probably be that 6th, 7th man off the bench. I'm really excited for what he has to offer. Now, the guy in front of him that he'll probably learn from is CJ McCollum. Talk about a veteran that just came in and dominated preseason. like it was beneath him. I mean, he's such a pure scorer, especially at this stage at 34 years old. He just knows where to be and how to get to his spots and how to navigate defensive coverages. Just a real joy to watch him score and play realistically. 19 points on 7 of 14 from the field, 5 of 9 from three against Toronto. Um, realistically, all that through two, maybe three quarters. Didn't play all too much. He had 25 minutes. That's a really efficient night at the office. Was a plus 15. Um, Really liked it. I mean, there's not really much to say. He's a pure scorer. I think he's tremendous, tremendous person for a guy like Trey to learn from. Even a guy like Bub, a guard that has been there and done it for over a decade at the highest level. And CJ McCollum represents that. So really excited for what he can bring. And like I've been stressing, like Trey Johnson maybe at some point will be a better two guard than CJ. He is nowhere close to that right now. CJ is just, he's a veteran, he's experienced, he's on a completely different level than Trey is. And if you want to put a good product out there, and I understand, you got people that are saying they should just lose every game, tank, good draft class. It's easier said than done, and they're also not going to do that. The Wizards aren't just going to say, hey, you know what? Let's go 0-82. We don't really care about our player development. Let's just play all the young guys. That's not going to happen. They're going to play their veterans. That's how they've done it each of the first 2 years of the rebuild. That's how they'll do it this year. CJ is the best two guard by a mile on this roster. He played really well against New York. Not sure if him and Middleton didn't play the second night of back-to-back. Obviously, I would assume because of rest. They're veterans. They're older. Not sure if they'll play against Detroit. I would assume they would. It's like a last-minute tune-up game. But maybe Keefe and Dawkins want to see what guys like Kadari Richmond, who they just signed to an Exhibit 10, and Scala BCA, and you know, Jameer Watkins even can do in extended minutes. So we'll see about that Detroit game, but really like what I saw from CJ. And then same thing with Chris Middleton, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists on 4 from the field in, let me check how many minutes he played. 24 minutes. I mean, just like they were both so efficient. It looks easy for them out there. Tremendous guy for a guy like George and Koulibaly to learn from, and Middleton. Really enjoy watching him play as well. And like I said, the Wizards are a better team with Chris Middleton on the floor. They were 6-8 in his 14 games last year. With CJ as well, they're clearly a way better team. I mean, CJ was a plus 15, Middleton was a plus 13. The team plays better with them. And I think with that comes the young guys playing better and learning and developing at a quicker, faster, and better rate when playing with good guys like that. Because you see in situations like Detroit and situations like Houston, until they bring in good veterans, the young guys just kind of look like young guys playing basketball with no real sense of how to win or how to come together as a team or how to defend. That only comes for those teams when the veterans like Tobias Harris, Dylan Brooks, Fred Van Vliet, Tim Hardaway Jr., when they come into those environments and they lead and they show them how to play basketball, team basketball, and winning basketball, that's how you grow into a contender. Those teams are at that stage. Well, Houston definitely, Detroit's getting there, but they're there because of the veterans that they added, not only because of the young talent and the good drafts that they've had. So that's what I'm trying to stress. CJ is going to start. Chris is going to start. They've looked really good in small sample size in preseason. I'm excited to see what they can do. A guy that I think will back up a Middleton or a George is Cam Whitmore. I really liked his defense and his activity on that end. Had a big emphatic block against Toronto. Picked up a nice steal. His anticipation, I think, is something that's jumped off the page to me, at least early on. Played 10 minutes only against New York, but had 7 points on 3 of 4 from the field, knocked down a 3. Again, I think he needs to defend a little bit without fouling. He's obviously a very physical defender, physical guy. I mean, he's a big dude. That's another thing I noticed. Like he's a little wild in transition. Like you're either going to get him posterizing a guy, or he's going to run him over, and they're going to draw a charge. So I think he needs to be a little smarter in the open floor. Maybe use his body a little bit better to his advantage. Than being a little too wild. But that said, again, I've liked what I've seen from Whitmore. Small sample size, but again, like against Toronto, 17 minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, another efficient night, 10 points, minus 27. So again, that's not great. Same boat as Bub. But I again can't complain about Whitmore. I would assume he's in the rotation. Keyshawn George as well. I mean, he had five. I think he finished with 5 stocks against Toronto. Yeah, 4 blocks. So they didn't give him a steal, but 4 blocks. And realistically, I think all of those were in the first half. He had 11 points, was a plus 13 against New York. Another 11 points, plus 12. He's so solid. He's so consistent, especially on defense. The shot did not fall against Toronto, but I like the looks he got. And obviously against New York, they fell more efficiently, made his only three, was 3 of 6 from the field. So I really did like a lot of what I saw from those guys. And I don't want to get too much into like the Kaderi Richmonds who really played garbage time. I thought Dylan Jones actually in his minutes played well. Corey Kispert was all right. Anthony Gill, again, is Anthony Gill. He's a minus 18 in 12 minutes. Um, but the last player that I want to get to, and I saved him for last for a reason, because I have so much praise for him, is Will Riley. This is the guy, again, that the Wizards traded back in the first round, selected him 21st. He's really skinny. I think he's 6'8", 176 pounds the last time I checked. But he's got good size. Obviously needs to get a little bit stronger. But the Wizards drafted him, I think, for a couple reasons, but mainly the skill that he has, the guard skills that he has, the handle he has, the scoring ability he has at such a height at 6'8" is rare. He's one of those bigger wings that I think can defend 1 through 4, that I think can pose a problem for opposing 3s and 4s that are stuck on him with his quickness. He can stretch the floor. He was a solid shooter. Obviously, he can get better in that category, but his ability to put the ball in the net, his athleticism, his handle at his size, I think is what got him drafted that early. And I've seen it all in preseason. Against Toronto, like he played 15 minutes, had 4 points, was a plus 12, but missed all of his field goal attempts. It was an okay day. He was 4 of 4 from the line. Obviously, had those clutch free throws, but nothing really jumped off the page. Then you jump over to New York, and I mean, he was arguably the best player on the floor at times, maybe apart from Bagley. In 26 minutes, finished with 17 points on 7 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 boards, 2 assists, and a plus 17. Again, the stats speak for themselves, but to describe it, I mean, he had a play. I'll take you to this one on the wing where he took his man off the dribble from the right wing, drove left across the rim or across the paint, got to the right side, spun, completely lost his defender, and then made a tough contested left-handed layup. Really impressive dribble moves. It kind of showcases what he can do, putting the ball on the deck athletically, getting to the rim and finishing at 6'8". Like, that's rare. Maybe not as much in today's game, but certainly, in years past. And the game is shifting to guys that are able to do that. Bilal can do that. Keyshawn can do that. And I think Will Riley's that next guy up where, Keyshawn flew under the radar, kind of that third first-round pick last year. A lot of hype for Trey, and I think it's warranted, but I think Riley's fell under the radar a little bit. Again, I don't know how he finds his way into the rotation. Maybe if it's another like 20-point game in the preseason finale and he's balling in practice, then like he simply cannot keep him on the bench, then maybe. But he's really young. I think he's only 20 years old still. You have Whitmore, Kispert, Trey Johnson, Bagley, even Champagnie. Like, you have a lot of guys in front of him. And I think it honestly wouldn't hurt him if he plays some games with the go-go, if he takes some time to just watch the game and maybe get some garbage reps. I think with a guy like him, playing it slow might be the best move. But I certainly did not foresee the breakout he had against the Knicks happening, at least this early. So really excited for him. Again, when they drafted him, it was like, okay, this isn't a Keyshawn George clone, but we can see what Will Dawkins is doing. You can kind of see the players he likes and kind of wants to develop and get here in DC. And I think Will Riley fits the mold. He was tremendous against the Knicks. Really can't say enough good things about him and his performance. And that's kind of my biggest takeaway from that game. The Wizards are 1-1. Obviously, they lost to Toronto. now with a win over New York, and win-loss doesn't matter. It's also interesting, the Wizards preseason schedule. I tweeted this out the other day, but like, why they only have 3 games is crazy. They also didn't start until 2 days after every other team had already played a game. Some teams have already played 3 or 4 games at that point. Some teams are playing 5, 6, 7 preseason games. The Wizards are only scheduling 3. And that's another thing. The NBA did not do this to the Wizards. I'm 99% sure that the Wizards did this to themselves. They schedule their games. Um, they decided that they wanted only 3. They decided they wanted to start late for whatever reason. But that's kind of where we're at. There's one more preseason game Thursday against Detroit. I think I'll be back. So there'll be a pod Friday morning that'll break down that game. And then my season preview will drop on Monday, Monday morning. And, obviously I'll preview the entire roster, I have so much just excess knowledge about this team that I need to put it somewhere. And so that might be a more lengthy pod. I'm going to see if I can get my brother on there. But last year, if you remember, I predicted the team would go 18-64. Thanks to Bob Carrington's game winner, that prediction was true. So I'm batting 1,000 over my last one season prediction. Obviously, I'll give my one for this year. I'm still kind of thinking about it. I'm between a couple numbers, but who knows? Whatever I say could turn out to be true based on previous events. So I'll obviously give that my thoughts on the rotation starters, what I'm looking for, possible trade candidates, what makes it a successful season, an unsuccessful season, Brian Keefe and kind of his future outlook. Maybe some draft stuff as well. Not sure if I want to get into that right now. We have a ways to go before June's draft, but that's on the horizon. You'll get that Monday morning. But apart from that, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. Hopefully, if you weren't able to watch the preseason games, I now kind of understand after listening to me ramble for 30 minutes the key takeaways. Hopefully, we're able to watch. I know a lot of you have YouTube TV and Hulu TV. If you're in the DMV area, you can't get Monumental unless you buy the app, which is unfortunate. A lot of people actually DM me and commented ways to watch. Monumental, again, is free for the preseason. So if you're looking for a place to watch the Detroit game Thursday and you're in a boat where you have YouTube or Hulu and can't watch in the DMV, Monumental app is free. It won't be free when the regular season starts, but at least if you want to watch the Detroit game, that's something to know. But that's going to do it for this episode. Again, thank you guys so much for the support. Appreciate all you guys for listening. It's going to do it. Go Wiz.